We all have beliefs about ourselves. These beliefs are often deeply ingrained, formed over years of experiences, interactions, and reflections. They can be empowering, giving us the confidence to pursue our dreams, or they can be limiting, holding us back from reaching our full potential. These beliefs shape our choices and our lives. Every decision we make, from the smallest daily tasks to the most significant life changes, is influenced by what we believe about ourselves and our capabilities. Some people believe their abilities are fixed. They think that their intelligence, talents, and skills are set in stone, unchangeable no matter how much effort they put in. This belief can lead to a sense of helplessness and resignation when faced with challenges. This is a fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset often avoid challenges, give up easily, and see effort as fruitless. They may feel threatened by the success of others and ignore useful feedback, all because they believe their abilities are static. Others believe they can grow and learn. They understand that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. This belief fosters a love of learning and resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. This is a growth mindset. Our mindset matters. It shapes how we perceive our abilities and potential. With a growth mindset, we see challenges as opportunities to improve, and we persist in the face of setbacks. It affects how we approach challenges. Instead of avoiding difficult tasks, we embrace them, knowing that each challenge is a chance to grow and learn. This mindset encourages us to put in the effort, seek out new strategies, and learn from our mistakes.
Deep dive. We're taking a look at Mindset, the New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, absolutely. This book is kind of a classic, isn't it? A real game changer. It's amazing how Dweck takes all this research, from all these different areas like psychology, education, even sports and business, and she shows how our mindset, the way we think about our abilities, can really have a huge impact on our lives. Not just like personal achievement either, but relationships, organizations, you name it.
It's really fascinating how she brings all of that together. Okay, so the heart of the book is this idea of two mindsets, right? The fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Could you maybe explain a little bit about that for our listeners who haven't read the book yet?
Sure. So Dweck basically says that people with a fixed mindset, they kind of believe that their qualities, like their intelligence or their talent, are just set in stone. Like you're either born smart or you're not. And that belief, well, it can be really limiting.
Because it makes people afraid of challenges, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of setback feels like a personal judgment on their worth.
Exactly. And I think that anecdote she tells about the children who were given these really difficult puzzles, that really illustrates this. The kids with a growth mindset, they were so excited by the challenge. They saw it as a chance to learn and grow.
Right. It was like an opportunity to really stretch their brains.
Yeah. But the kids with a fixed mindset, they wanted to look smart, and they wanted to avoid looking dumb at all costs.
So they were kind of stuck in this performance mindset, I guess. Like they're so worried about proving how smart they are that they miss out on actually, learning and growing.
Yeah, and that fear of failure often leads to, a fear of effort too. Because if you have to work hard at something, it means you're not naturally gifted, right? Or at least that's what the fixed mindset tells you. It's like they see effort as this weakness instead of a sign of commitment and resilience.
And that can be really damaging, especially when you're facing some kind of setback.
Absolutely. Dweck talks about these studies where students with fixed mindsets actually studied less after they got a bad grade.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it was as if they thought, I'm just not good at this. Why bother trying?
But that seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Wouldn't you want to study more if you weren't doing well?
Well, you would think so, but when you think about it through that lens of a fixed mindset, it makes sense. If you see ability as something that's fixed and unchangeable, then a setback is just further confirmation that you lack the necessary talent.
So how do people with a growth mindset respond to those kinds of setbacks? I'm guessing it's different.
Oh, yeah, it's totally different. They see setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth. They ask themselves questions like, what can I learn from this? Or how can I improve next time? It's not about, pretending like you're not disappointed. It's about staying focused on finding a solution.
That makes a lot of sense.
And Dweck gives this great example to illustrate this, contrasting, tennis legend John McEnroe with Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE. So McEnroe, he was famous for his on-court outbursts, always blaming everyone else for his losses, the refs, the wind, anyone but himself.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But Jack Welch, when he is faced with this huge scandal at one of GE's subsidiaries, he took personal responsibility. He even said publicly, "I am ultimately responsible."
Wow. That's quite a statement.
And it wasn't about taking the blame just for the sake of it. It was about recognizing that he had played a part in creating the conditions that led to the problem.
It was about taking ownership. So he could then, like you said, focus on finding a solution and moving forward.
Exactly.
And it's not just about individual behavior, is it? I mean, Dweck talks about how this whole mindset thing can even permeate entire organizations, right?
Oh, for sure. She uses the Enron scandal as this prime example of a fixed mindset culture gone wrong. Their obsession with talent created this environment where nobody could admit weaknesses or learn from their mistakes. It was more important to keep up this appearance of brilliance rather than actually being brilliant.
So it's not that there weren't smart people at Enron. It's just that the whole culture, the mindset, was preventing them from actually learning and growing.
Exactly. And this brings us to a really interesting question that Dweck tackles. What about praising intelligence? Isn't that supposed to be motivating?
Yeah, that's what we've always heard, right?
Yeah.
We should be telling our kids they're smart, encouraging them, that kind of thing.
Right. But Dweck's research actually shows that praising kids for being smart can backfire. It makes them more vulnerable to setbacks and less likely to embrace challenges.
Wow. Really? I've never thought about it that way.
Well, think about it. If your whole self-worth is tied to your intelligence, then any suggestion that you're not smart is going to be devastating.
That makes sense. So what should we be doing instead? If we shouldn't be praising intelligence, then what should we focus on?
Dweck suggests that we focus on the process rather than the outcome.
Okay. Could you give me an example?
Sure. So instead of saying to a child, "You're so smart," you might say something like, "I love how you persevered and figured out that tricky problem." You're praising their effort, their strategies, their persistence.
And that helps to nurture a growth mindset. Get it? It's about focusing on those things that they can control, the effort they put in, rather than something that's perceived as fixed, like intelligence.
Exactly. And Dweck uses the inspiring story of Seabiscuit, the racehorse, and his jockey, Red Pollard, to illustrate this. They both faced all these challenges and setbacks, but their belief in their ability to improve, combined with just sheer hard work, led them to achieve things that nobody thought were possible.
It's amazing how a simple shift in mindset can have such a profound impact.
Absolutely. And Dweck doesn't just tell us that a growth mindset is beneficial. She backs it up with a ton of research.
Yeah.
It's not just self-help, it's a deep dive into how we can cultivate this mindset in ourselves and in others. And it's really interesting how this whole idea of effort over ability plays out in sports. Dweck talks about these two baseball players, Billy Beane and Lenny Dykstra, and they're completely different paths.
Oh yeah, Billy Beane, right? He was the one who became famous for that whole data-driven approach with the Oakland A's.
That's him. But, before all that, he was actually a player himself, and he was considered this natural, super talented athlete. But he really struggled when he got to the major leagues.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. He kind of crumbled under the pressure.
Exactly. And Dweck says it was because of his fixed mindset. He believed that if he wasn't succeeding effortlessly, it meant he just didn't have what it took. But then there's Lenny Dykstra. He was the total opposite. He was far from a natural, but he was this incredibly hard worker, super gritty and determined.
Nails, they called him. Right?
Yep, Nails Dykstra.
Mm-hmm.
And Dweck really highlights how his growth mindset, his willingness to just grind it out, allowed him to overcome his limitations and become a key player on a World Series team.
So it's not just about talent. It's about that combination of talent and mindset.
Right. Talent can only take you so far. It's the mindset that really allows you to reach your full potential. And this applies not just to athletes, but also to leaders in the business world, too.
Dweck contrasts Enron, which we talked about earlier, with those companies that Jim Collins studied in his book, Good to Great, right?
Yes. Collins found that the leaders of those companies, they had this remarkable humility and a deep commitment to, constant improvement, which are, total hallmarks of a growth mindset, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. And they weren't afraid to confront problems head on.
Right. They didn't shy away from the brutal facts. They were always looking for ways to learn and adapt to get better.
So it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about fostering that culture where everyone can contribute, where people feel comfortable experimenting and learning from their mistakes.
Exactly. And speaking of learning, let's talk about how this all plays out in school. Dweck's research in this area is really fascinating. She found that students with a growth mindset, they actually improve their grades in challenging environments, like when they transition to junior high. While kids with fixed mindsets, they tend to see their grades go down.
Well, that makes sense. When things get tough, the growth mindset kids rise to the occasion because they see it as a challenge to learn and grow from.
Exactly. And Dweck tells this really sweet story about the student named Jimmy, who at first, he totally had a fixed mindset. He didn't put in much effort in school, but after he learned about the growth mindset, everything changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he totally transformed his whole approach. He started seeing mistakes as feedback rather than failures, and he began seeking out challenges and embracing the whole process of learning.
Wow, it's amazing how a simple shift in mindset can make such a huge difference.
It really is. But now, here's the question. What about those of us who aren't in school anymore? Can we still change our mindsets?
That's a great question. I mean, I would hope so.
Well, the good news is that Dweck says it's never too late. It's not like you can just erase all your fixed mindset tendencies overnight, but you can start recognizing those limiting beliefs and actively challenging them.
So it's about becoming aware of that voice in your head, that fixed mindset voice that says things like, I'm not good at this, or I'm just not a math person.
Exactly. And Dweck talks about this really powerful tool, which is the idea of not yet. So instead of saying, I can't do this, you reframe it as, I can't do this yet. It's just this little tweak in language, but it can have a big impact on your mindset.
Oh, I like that, because it acknowledges your current limitations, but it also implies that you have the potential to grow and learn. It's about embracing the process.
Right. It's about enjoying the journey rather than getting hung up on achieving some arbitrary level of perfection. And this whole not yet concept can be applied to pretty much any area of life. Learning a new skill, working on a relationship, personal growth, you name it. It's just this reminder that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
That's actually what makes life interesting. It's about being curious, taking risks, and constantly pushing ourselves to grow. But how do we actually go about doing that? Like, what are some concrete things we could do to cultivate a growth mindset?
Well, Dweck offers a few really helpful strategies. One is to become what she calls a mindset detective. So you start paying close attention to your thoughts, especially when you're facing challenges or setbacks.
So you're basically becoming more aware of those moments when the fixed mindset starts to creep in.
Right, and then you can consciously choose to respond in a more growth-oriented way. For example, let's say you get some tough feedback on a project at work. Instead of getting defensive or feeling defeated, you can ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I use this feedback to improve my work?
It's about reframing criticism as an opportunity for growth rather than a personal attack.
Exactly. And another powerful strategy is to focus on the process, not just the outcome. So celebrate your effort, your perseverance, your willingness to experiment and learn from your mistakes. Because in the end, it's the journey that really matters. It's all those challenges we overcome, the lessons we learn, the growth we experience along the way. That's what shapes us into the people we become.
And this is where Dweck's work goes beyond individual development, right? I mean, it has implications for how we raise our kids, how we teach, how we lead. It's about creating a culture that values growth and continuous learning above all else.
It really is, because when we embrace a growth mindset, we're not just unlocking our own potential, we're unlocking the potential of everyone around us. And that's a pretty amazing thing.
So this whole idea of like fostering a growth mindset culture, it seems like it has really big implications for like teachers, parents, coaches, anyone who's kind of in a mentoring role.
Yeah, for sure. Dweck really digs into this in the book, and it's like one of the most important parts, I think. She makes this really compelling case that adults play a huge role in shaping the mindsets of kids.
So it's not just about, genes or whatever. It's about the messages we send to kids about their abilities.
Right. And even those like seemingly positive comments like, oh, you're so talented or you're a natural, those can actually reinforce a fixed mindset.
Really? Why is that?
Because even though we mean well, we might be unintentionally telling kids that their success is because of some innate ability rather than effort and hard work.
Oh, I see. So it's like it can make them afraid to try new things because they don't want to risk looking like they're not talented anymore.
Exactly.
So what kind of language should we be using instead? Like if we want to encourage a growth mindset in kids?
Well, Dweck really emphasizes praising the process rather than the outcome. So like instead of focusing on, grades or winning or whatever, we should be acknowledging their effort, their strategies, their persistence, the choices they made that led to their success.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure. So instead of saying, you got an A, you're so smart, you could say, I'm really impressed with how hard you worked on this and how you figured out a way to solve that problem.
Got it. So you're highlighting those things that they did, the actions they took,
Yeah.
rather than just labeling them as smart.
Right. Because that reinforces the idea that their success is something they earned through hard work and dedication, not just something they were born with.
And this applies not just to praise, but also to how we handle mistakes, right? I mean, mistakes are going to happen, especially when kids are learning.
Oh, absolutely. Mistakes are a crucial part of the learning process. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we need to help kids see them as valuable learning opportunities.
How do you do that?
Well, we can help them analyze what went wrong. What could they do differently next time? We can help them come up with new strategies to try.
So it's about helping them develop that resilience, that problem-solving mindset.
Yes. To see setbacks as detours on the path to success, not roadblocks.
I love that. And Dweck actually suggests creating a mistakes wall.
Yeah.
Right? Where kids can kind of celebrate their mistakes and share what they learned from them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It really normalizes the idea that mistakes are just a normal part of learning. And of course, this doesn't just apply to parents. Teachers and coaches can also create these growth mindset environments by, focusing on the process of learning, giving kids constructive feedback, and, really emphasizing effort and improvement over just raw talent.
Right, and Dweck has some really inspiring examples of teachers who've done just that.
She does. And it's incredible to see how much of an impact a teacher's mindset can have on the whole learning experience for their students. And it's not just about academics either.
So what else does it impact?
Well, a growth mindset gives kids those tools like resilience, perseverance, and that ability to learn and adapt. And those are things they're going to need to thrive in, all areas of life, not just school.
It's about setting them up for success in the long run.
Exactly. And it's never too late for any of us to adopt a growth mindset ourselves either, whether we're parents, teachers, or just, people who want to reach our full potential. The ideas in this book, they can really make a difference.
Well, this deep dive into mindset has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much. What about you?
Oh, for sure. The biggest takeaway for me is just how powerful our beliefs are. If we choose to embrace a growth mindset, it really does open up a world of possibilities for ourselves and for the people around us.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to think about your own mindset. Where could you maybe apply a growth mindset in your life? What's one limiting belief you can challenge today?
Remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Be patient with yourselves and never stop learning and growing.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.